Good afternoon. Welcome back to the channel. This video is not financial advice, not a financial advisor. Do your own research, make your own decisions. All right, guys, got a very important video. It's just going to take me a while to get through everything, but I'm going to be talking about use cases and the timeline that we're on, but I will jump all over the place, just heads up. And before I get started, I just wanted to say Coin Nation did a great video on water neuron. So if you wanted to learn more about water neuron, I would recommend watching this video. I would also recommend following his account because he's a smart guy and he covers ICP. Okay. So before I went out on my vacation, we were talking about how certain use cases would be ready before other use cases just based on technical complexity. So like payments, identity solution, Bitcoin payments, those use cases would be ready before end-to-end enterprise systems, big CRMs or ERPs being built on-chain, fully on-chain, and then adopted by like large corporations. I look at that as a later stage use case. I even look at fully end-to-end social media with everything tokenized, videos, everything streaming. I even look at that as a later stage use case just because of all the technical complexity. All right. But the reason why with ICP specifically, I feel like the only way to evaluate ICP is by individual use case and factoring in the element of time. And I'll explain why. So if let's just look at the use cases that are more ready to go now in August 2024. Keep in mind, ICP still hasn't had a bull market, okay? But let's just look at those three use cases because they're all technically different use cases. Payments, identity solution, and Bitcoin payments. And each of those are big markets that all have huge needs right now, okay? So it's not out of the realm possibility. Let's do a hypothetical. World governments have come together, and I need to go through this to set up the second half of the video, but world governments have come together and they decided that they're going to adopt a new global payment system, that the old one is just no longer working and they need to upgrade their global payment system, but they want everybody on the same system and something that works for all countries and entities involved, all right? And beyond the normal criteria that would be in any type of RFP process like this, it would be a long list of criteria that your technology, you had to meet all that criteria. Beyond what would traditionally be in there, they also want this solution to have some type of identity solution and to serve as an option for Bitcoin payments because they determine this Bitcoin asset's not going anywhere. Countries and institutions are starting to adopt it and normalize it. So they want this global payment system to also have an option for Bitcoin payments, right? And so that's what they're looking for. And they're going to evaluate all the best technical solutions for this. I don't know anything that would even be in the same conversation as ICP today. I really don't. By so many different objective metrics and criteria. Like, let's really look at this. If we were looking at speed, I would argue ICP is going to be at the top of the list. And you have to factor in settlement time, not just because like with Visa and MasterCard and everything, yeah, things look instantaneous on our end, but many of those transactions aren't settling for 2 or 3 days. Okay. And then that comes with a whole nother list of problems that creates because we don't have instant settlement. Security, I would also argue ICP is going to be towards the top of the list here. They had the built-in identity solution, but that was already a part of the evaluation process. A built-in governance system, right? Think about how important that would be for some type of global payment system identity solution to have a built-in governance system where everything is handled through an open, transparent governance process. Zero knowledge proof technology can be used. This could be customized based on country, jurisdiction, region, right? Different countries, different jurisdictions will have different tax laws. It's going to be a greener solution than probably anything out there. It's full stack, so numerous on-chain wallets can be built on the network securely. You can hold other assets in canisters, and it can also double as a personal cloud storage for photos and videos and things of that nature, right? You could use it as an alternative for Google Drive or Dropbox. And so right now, I would argue the point that I'm making with all of this is that I would argue today, if world governments were looking for a global payment system that also could serve as the identity solution and a Bitcoin payment solution, ICP is going to be in a league of their own. Okay, there's nothing that objectively would even compare to this on Earth that I'm aware of. All right. And I think in a year from now, 2 years from now, or adding the element of time, you'll be able to add numerous other use cases to the list. Because I would argue, sitting here today, ICP would be the best candidate for a global payment solution, identity solution, and Bitcoin payment solution. And I think in a year from now, you'll have numerous other use cases that you'll be adding to the list, because everything built on ICP is going to come with certain inherent benefits and advantages. This is a different type of software, okay? It's just going to take time to actually build those solutions, because most everything built on ICP will be more secure, will be faster, will have the element of being democratized through the governance process and having that level of transparency. It's just a matter of time. So I think in however long, beyond payments, identity solution, Bitcoin payments, I'm going to add Ethereum scaling solution, right? The Ethereum integration isn't even complete yet. So ICP being used as a use case and an alternative to big tech cloud for Ethereum-based applications, all this isn't complete yet. But after all that is complete, and after the other tools are built out, and these cross-chain wallets and these things like Oizy and other types of solutions, like onboarding solutions, things that make the user experience easier, as more and more of those things are built over time, right? You have to factor in the element of time. ICP will be the most ideal solution for an alternative to big tech cloud for almost any and all Web3 projects. But a lot of it comes down to these network level integrations need to be built out and completed. And the necessary tools and cross-chain applications and the things that make the user experience easier, those things need to continue to be built out. And at some point, I'll be sitting here saying, yeah, ICP is the best solution on earth for, as an alternative to big tech cloud for Web3 projects, regardless of what network they launched on. That's really the big thing, is that it doesn't matter if they launched on Ethereum. Like if they launch their token on Ethereum, they use big tech cloud. They launch their token on Solana, but they use big tech cloud. It doesn't matter. Over time, ICP will be able to absorb so many of these projects and absorb those projects without there being any negative impact to the original layer one, right? Because they're already not doing but so much to begin with. And they're already outsourcing so much to big tech cloud. But they can continue serving the exact same purpose they're doing right now, and ICP can just replace big tech cloud over time. But it's important to understand that there is a Web 2.5 process. There is a Web 2.5 phase. We don't just go from 2 to 3. This whole period in here, this is there for a reason. All right. It's there for a reason. But big picture, and if you don't understand how this can happen, if you don't understand how like ICP can absorb projects from other ecosystems and why, from a technical perspective, that would make sense over time, if you don't like get why this would make sense and the incentives and the benefits of doing this, I would spend the time to make sense of this, because this is the world computer big picture vision. Is ICP starting to replace this element with so many different Web3 projects? Yeah, it's just going to take time. And that's beyond the things that start out on ICP and are built end to end on ICP without ever launching their token on some other network to start. Things like OpenChat, right? And at some point, probably in the next couple years, I'll also be saying ICP is the best, or OpenChat is the best possible solution for a messaging application. I don't think that's but so far off, especially when you factor in things like the proof of humanity type solution, when you have an internet that's being bombarded with bots everywhere, on every single social app, on all these messaging apps, right? And so just think for like messaging apps, cybersecurity issues continuing to go up, phishing attacks continuing to go up, and just in a general sense, these platforms being bombarded with bots. I don't think it's that far out of the realm possibility that at some point in the next couple of years, I'll also be adding OpenChat to that category of this is the best technical solution available on the market right now for this specific use case. It's just factoring in the element of time, because it's built on ICP, so it's going to be more secure, right? It's going to be on a global network that has a built-in governance system, right? It's going to have the built-in identity solution and the proof of humanity solution to eliminate all the bots. And so over time, the use cases where ICP is the best technical solution on earth is going to grow. And it's only 3 years into a 20-year roadmap. Like every time I hear people bitching about the state of DeFi, it's just not, I don't know what else to, if you want to ignore all the use cases that are ready to go and the developments happening with that, like the United Nations partnering with dfinity for universal trusted credentials, this is happening at the same time. The United Nations partnering with dfinity for a potential 10-country pilot or something like that, and or however many countries ideally would be using the solution over time. On top of that, the W3C has already changed web standards starting back in 2022, making DIDs a web standard, and verifiable credentials very well may become a web standard in the next year or so. It's already a recommendation, and dfinity's a member of the W3C. And so all these things are significantly more important than the current state of retail DeFi. The fact that anybody would be putting that much stock in retail DeFi sitting here today, August 2024, considering ICP's never even had a bull market, but while simultaneously ignoring all of the other use cases that are ready to go. And I would argue those use cases, ICP is the best technical solution on earth objectively, not just some like moon boy internet bullshit talk, like objectively by objective metrics. If you really want to look at it, name me something else that would be a better candidate for a global solution like that. I can't find anything, right? And I think the list of is only going to grow over time. And again, these are huge markets. We're talking about, you know, a global payment system, a global identity solution, a Bitcoin scaling solution. Guys, Bitcoin is a trillion plus market already. Already, Bitcoin is a trillion plus market. And then think about all the other use cases for Bitcoin, right? And I should have included this, but then the news about the TAP protocol, guys, start paying attention to the different technologies, networks, and solutions in the space that start using ICP's technology. Because a lot of it's going to happen on the sly, just heads up. I mean, you'll probably see like the initial announcement. But a lot of that stuff is going to happen because there's going to be a lot of different companies and software solutions and networks that use canisters because canisters are just superior software. And that's all there is to it. Like if you just look at the basic functionality of ICP canister smart contracts and smart contracts anywhere else in this space, it's night and day difference. And so there's going to be a lot of people using canisters because it's just better software. It has more functionality, overwhelmingly more functionality. But we're 3 years into a 20+ year roadmap. And so every time I hear like the complaining about DeFi or whatever it is, all of those, everything that's said could be replaced with it's 3 years into a 20+ year roadmap. That's it, right? So does 3 equal 20? No, it doesn't. 3 equals 3. So 3 years into a 20+ year roadmap, you should expect to be 3 years into a 20+ year roadmap. All right. And if they didn't prioritize things like retail DeFi straight out of the gate, okay. In my opinion, they created the best Bitcoin scaling solution on earth right now for payments. Oh, but people will get all fudded out of their fudded into oblivion because all these other Bitcoin payment solutions are getting more media coverage. Guys, if like the way that the media coverage with ICP, like if that's like shaking your conviction, then you're probably not going to make it an ICP. I'll be honest with you, because there's going to be the conversation around ICP, in my opinion, is going to be managed from here on out over the next few years. I think it's been managed up until this point. I've done a lot of coverage of this over the last 3 years, just media coverage and how it's changed and evolved over time, but it has changed just in the last few years. I think it's just going to happen on a gradient over time. Just imagine, just do a thought experiment and say, okay, what if everybody in crypto media just came out and told the God's honest truth about the true network functionality of all these different networks, including ICP? Just think about what would happen. Think about the impact that would have, and the impact that would have on so many existing projects and investment capital, right? So I think the conversation will be managed, and I think that people just have to come to terms with that. Yeah, and if you want to do something about it, get on camera and start doing more education. Yeah, bitching about it on Twitter does absolutely nothing. If you want to do something about it, do this, okay? So use cases, I think as you go down and you get into the more complex use cases over time, ICP will also be the best technical solution for that. But I just think for all these different use cases, it's if it's already not the best technical solution objectively out there on the market anywhere, I think it's only a matter of time. And you got things like Origin digital certificates, the VRC platform, universal trusted credentials. Retail tends to default to use cases that they care about, DeFi, right? And the whole thing about DeFi, guys, it's like the Ethereum integration isn't even fully complete yet. And even after it is fully complete, you would still need time for more development with cross-chain solutions. But it's like all of this is in the works, right? And yeah, I just people don't factor in the element of time. People are reacting to things that are happening like right in front of them that particular day, and it highlights the fact that they have no foresight, right? I was actually talking about big tech being broken up 3 years ago. Okay. Might be the only guy on the internet that was talking about that. Not that I was talking about big tech being broken up, that I was saying that I think it's probably likely that they are going to be broken up and that it's going to serve as a catalyst to transitioning to new tech, right? But people, a lot of people in the space have no foresight, and I mean, which is fine. They just should talk less, and the people that actually do have foresight and have a track record of being accurate over time should probably talk more. Retail, they default to the things that they care about, right? Retail DeFi, ignore the United Nations, the fact that the World Wide Web Consortium is changing web standard, ignore all that stuff, right? And or with ICP social apps. ICP's not had a bull market. That's such an important factor, all right? Not having a bull market is such an important element to this conversation. And it should be factored into any and all, oh, where is ICP at today, like with development or with adoption or with general interest within the space. Yeah. So ICP is actually fixing real problems. We hear this all the time. Like look at what some of these others are doing with their DeFi. It's like they're a casino. It's for retail gambling. Is that solving a real issue? I mean, DeFi in a general sense, principally can solve real issues, but the identity portion of it, verifiable credentials, scaling Bitcoin as a payment solution, it's like all those things are significantly more important, and it's a significantly bigger need that ICP is tackling, like real issues. Yeah, like real issues that have giant markets. So it's still early stage for like developers and engineers in the blockchain and distributed ledger world. I'd keep that in mind too. Like for a developer or a software engineer who's making, let's say 250K a year, whatever it is, with some larger corporation working right now, them making the pivot to the blockchain space might seem like a big risk. Just with the uncertainty around regulation and how new all the technology is. But over time, as regulation gets cleared up and as institutions really start to mainstream all of this tech, which is happening, it's just happening very incrementally. As that happens, I think you're going to see more, it's going to be less of a perceived risk for developers, software engineers to move over to the Web3 space. And so I think that all that's going to happen with time, and as regulation gets cleared up and everything else. But it's very, very early for the end-to-end on-chain model. Understand there's a Web 2.5 phase for a reason. We're in the Web 2.5 phase. That doesn't mean that nothing's going to happen with ICP. It just means that there's a Web 2.5 phase. Jesus. Sorry. Yeah. We are in the problem and reaction stage. All right. With everything. And the solutions come later, in my opinion. Even though they'll continue to be worked on throughout this entire time and over time implemented in the background. The U.S. is not the rest of the world, too, that for anybody that's in the U.S. I know a lot of people that are in the United States, they get hyper-focused on different things ever relating to crypto regulation in the United States. I would focus more on things like the World Wide Web Consortium. To the next point, web standards. The issues that are discussed about ICP, a lot of times they're issues that other L1s don't even have because they don't have the functionality. Like I heard on the spaces the other day, and this came from, a couple people that I like. I'm just making a counter argument here. Like when people are talking about latency, like latency issues with ICP in certain use cases, like certain games or maybe social media or things like that. Okay, cool. You can't even build applications on other networks. All right. So they don't have the latency problem because they have no applications running on their network, because they are a complementary solution that are not, you're not even supposed to be able to build applications on these networks. They're designed to be added to the existing tech infrastructure. They're complementary systems. ICP is a full stack end-to-end solution. These are apples and oranges. It's not even apples and oranges. Okay. Anyone? Yeah, and another thing too is that like it's an open network. Anybody can, I could launch an application, right? So it's like a lot of these things are going to come and go and be here and not be here. It's not an indicator of what's happening like with ICP at any point in time. It's just an open public network, and certain people might build crappy solutions that have no real market demand. Also, as ICP just started moving forward with AI on chain not too long ago. And these solutions, especially everything with credentials, are going to be so heavily tied to artificial intelligence. And just, again, factor in the element of time. This just kind of got rolled out, and it's just got rolled out on ICP. And you're not going to see it elsewhere because you can't do all these things on these other networks, right? It blows me away that just because they have fixed valuations where they have, right? And they have ICP's valuation where it is. And then they have all these other networks and their valuations where they are. All they really had to do was distort valuations. I mean, think about this. Think about how easy of a job this would be for the people orchestrating all this. All we have to do is distort the valuations and push out some useful idiots in the crypto media world, and we'll be able to get this by everybody, right? We'll be able to just hide this thing right in the middle of everything else because people are too stupid to just look at basic facts and evidence, right? Like this is the only thing you can actually build into applications on. But the valuation, the price isn't moving up. So, right, that's how stupid people are. That's how easy it was for them to hide this, was just distort valuations for one cycle and get some people in the crypto media to just ignore it. That's how easy it was. So I would look at everything with like open chat as a proof of concept for what the future applications are going to look like, right? That's how I would look at everything with open chat. I think it's a perfect example of like a proof of concept for fully end-to-end on-chain applications running without firewalls, right? Fully democratized. So, and I think that within a number of maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years, within the foreseeable future, open chat will be the best option in the world for a messaging application. It might take a few more years, just given scale and everything else. But I think these other messaging applications are going to become overrun with bots, have tons of cyber issues, phishing attacks, things of that nature. And I think it's just going to continue to lead towards end-to-end on-chain solutions like this. Just going to take time. And a few other things here, cybercrime. I was going to go over something else with this part of it. This gets back into the partnership with BIA and the VRC platform and everything else. But this is only going to go to the moon. This is only going to keep going up and to the right. And I have a few more examples. Trump campaign says it was hacked. This is just going over how big the global identity solution. It's just talking about how it's expected to grow. And then just hacks, cyber issues, tons of problems. The web is, in my opinion, imploding. You got the DOJ thinking about taking action against Google. Look into the FTC and what's happening with them with Amazon. So onward, as far as I can see, guys. I'm just going to take time. But in my opinion, sitting here today, ICP is the best technical solution on earth. Think about this. Getting too frustrated with the state of retail DeFi and you get out of an investment in a technology that's sitting here today is hands down the best technical solution objectively by objective metrics for a global payment system, identity solution, and Bitcoin payment solution. But because retail DeFi isn't where you think it should be or where some fucking idiot told you it should be in August 2024, given ICP's never had a bull market, you get all like in your feelings about the state of retail DeFi and you get out of an investment that's the best technical solution for a global payment system today, even with no bull market, even with shit coverage from the media. You get out of a solution that's the best technical option right now for a global payment system, identity solution, and Bitcoin payment solution, when Bitcoin has over $1 trillion market cap today, right? But that just speaks to the people that you surround yourself with and how you spend your time. Because if you spend a lot of time with people that aren't actually looking at the big picture and who are very much like the shit posters, those are, I'm sorry, guys. It's like you can either follow people that are going to cover real important topics and have foresight, or you're going to follow a bunch of fucking idiots who just bitch all day. So the choice is up to you. There you go. That's all I have for this video. Thank you, everyone, for liking, sharing, subscribing, whatever. I will have other stuff coming out in the next few days, but thank you, everybody. Take care. Not financial advice. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next video.